Hey, you, and welcome to the podcast. So, about twice a year, I like to sit outside when it's actually nice weather in Northeast Ohio and record a podcast. And so I'm going to apologize ahead of time because this one is going to have loud background noise, and I apologize. But let me tell you this episode of the podcast is going to be so worth it because there's somebody who subscribes and follows this podcast who needs to hear this word that I'm about to share. This is the kind of word that if somebody would have simply said this in a podcast somewhere, it would have awakened me. So I don't even know where to begin with this because I guess I'm just going to start at the beginning. So I'm in a season of my life, and this is going to come full circle and help you to get unstuck and out of your fat pants. But I'm in a season of my life of extreme busyness. Our firstborn child is graduating from high school, has graduated from high school, and her graduation party is this Sunday. And we could have had the graduation party anywhere, but she wanted to have the graduation party here at our house, which is great. But immediately, as soon as she said that, it immediately translated into a complete project plan for me as a certified project manager. And because I know my husband, that means we're going to have this graduation party probably predominantly outside at the beginning of June in Northeast Ohio, which means that I have got to motivate my husband to help me to clean out the garage. Not one garage, but we have 3 garages. And let me tell you something about my husband. There isn't much that he wants to throw away. Like, we're just different. You're probably different from your spouse in that way, right? So everything can be recycled and reused and all of the things. And it's hard for me, but I kind of pick my battles. And so I knew that this graduation party was coming. I knew that it was going to be a lot of work. And I've gotten to the point where we've gotten over all of those hurdles, right? Donations have been, given to get rid of kids' toys out of the garage, all the things. My husband has done a lot of soul searching and parted with things from his childhood, because who needs to keep their wallpaper from when they were an infant, right? Anyhow, but now we're at the point where it's the rubber hitting the road. I have to start doing the things for the actual party. The party is in 5 days. And I've designed the layout of the food in such a way that our kitchen island is going to be transformed into this large grazing table, as they call it. Envision a massive charcuterie board, right? And guess what? I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about grazing tables. I don't know anything about grazing tables or charcuterie boards. It's just not my area of expertise. And I've had so much mental chatter about this, so much resistance, so much so that today, because I am a certified project manager, I have planned on my calendar, today's the day where I make the grazing table ingredients list. And I map it all out so that my friend Abby and I can go to Sam's Club and buy all the food. And, as I was sitting there this morning at my desk talking to the Lord, I was realizing something. I had absolutely no desire to do it. I promise you this is going to come back to your weight loss. This isn't about me telling you to eat, a charcuterie board to lose weight. It's not that. But what the Lord spoke to me, I believe He's speaking to you also on your weight loss journey. I didn't even want to sit down and plan her grazing table. And there was this overwhelming lack of desire, overt lack of desire, completely to the point where I'm like, Sherrie, Kapala, it's just food. What are you doing? I mean, I have this vision of what it's going to look like, right? Because I have saved all the Pinterest boards. I have saved all of the TikToks where all the people talk about their grazing tables and their charcuterie boards and all of those things. I know what to do. I can see it beautiful. I can see it being full of all of these things. I can feel Haley feeling completely honored and special when she sees it and having a great time at her party. But what I didn't want to do was I didn't want to do the work. I didn't want to go from where I am on Tuesday to where I need to be on Sunday. I just want to get to Sunday. And that's where the Lord started ministering to me, because and this is where it becomes part of your weight loss journey, I just want the outcome. I don't want to do the work. And doing the work is more than that. It's a little bit nuanced, because it's not just that I don't want to do the work. It's that I have fears around it because I've never done it. Oh, Lord, please help me to unpack this in such a way, because I'm already hearing in my spirit how this relates to you on your weight loss. Like right now, if you are listening and you're struggling to lose weight, I need you to hang with me, because this quite possibly could be the thing that is the reason behind why you're stuck. Because as I sat here, down in my office, paying attention to why I didn't have the desire, why I didn't want to. I mean, who doesn't want to go shopping with your friend, right? All of it sounds amazing. But I could see all of the resistance. And it was like big kind of resistance. You probably deal with this kind of resistance, whether it's in your weight loss, or maybe it's charcuterie boards for you, or grazing tables, or cleaning your house for a company to come over. But as I noticed it, all right, I gotta go pull up the list. I gotta look at all the things. I noticed that not only was I experiencing resistance, but I was willing to do everything. I had this desire to suddenly go clean the toilets, even in Landon's bathroom, right? To go and do things that don't even need to be done, like our junk drawer in the kitchen, doing all of the things that seem like they're really productive, good use of my time, but they are the very thing I should not be doing right now. And so I sat there with that realization, oh my goodness, I want to do stupid stuff. That means I'm stuck. And that's when I put on my self-coaching hat. And that's what this episode of the podcast is going to be all about, is you self-coaching. Because any place you are stuck, there's just a thought. There's just a belief underneath it. And so I sat there thinking about, what I was thinking. Why I don't want to do this. Why there's no desire. I desire the outcome. I want the outcome. But I am not willing to do what it takes to get there. And so I started really just thinking about it. I want this to happen, and I'm the person that has to make it happen, because there is no way, if I left this up to my husband, that it would be what it's supposed to be. We would have Domino's pizza and some Dollar Tree or dollar store soda, and I don't even know. He might mow the lawn and do some edging, but I don't even know, so I'm not even going to allow myself to go there. But as I started thinking about that, I'm like, okay, I want the outcome, but I'm not willing to go through the process. It's not that I don't desire and I don't want the outcome. I want the destination, right? I want to get from where I am on this side of the open house, of the graduation party. But I'm just not wanting to cross that bridge, if you will, right? That bridge from Tuesday to Sunday. I don't want to go through that hard work. And immediately I started thinking about you. I started thinking about the women that I coach, that I can almost hear what women say, because, I don't even know, 8 years into this now, 600 clients into this now. I can hear what women say when they want the outcome. They want weight loss. They want to lose weight. They just don't want to do what it's going to take. And for everybody, it's something different. It could be, I want to lose weight, but I don't want to meal prep. I want to lose weight, but I don't want to stop eating. I don't want to stop drinking wine. I don't want to stop eating the foods that I love. I want to lose the weight. I just don't want to have to plan. I just want to show up and make good choices and have all the choices that I stick in my mouth be the right choices. I want to lose the weight, but I don't want to be uncomfortable. I want to lose the weight, but I don't want to change. Right? We desire the outcome, but we resist the process. And so I just sat there with the Lord and I started asking myself questions. All right, what's going on? What am I believing? Because I know I teach this, right? I teach the belief framework in the Seeker's Method. And here I am, activating the belief framework in my own life, in an area of my life where I'm resisting crossing the bridge. And I started asking, like, what am I believing? Because I know what I'm believing is the very thing that's giving me the reason to not behave, to resist this, to, want to scrub Landon's toilet instead of making a list and looking forward to going shopping. But as soon as I asked myself that question, what am I believing? Because anywhere you're stuck is just a thought that you're believing. It all started coming out at me. Like, here's what I started saying. I don't know how to make a grazing table. I've never done this before. Right? Like, these are the real things. I was thinking, like, what if it doesn't look good? What if people don't like it? What if all of the meat spoils and everybody gets salmonella? Like, what if I go there and I buy the wrong things or they don't have the right things? Where do I go to buy all the things? What if it's way more expensive and I'm being stupid and I should just make coleslaw and potato salad and hamburgers? What if I go to Sam's Club and I spend $1 million and Harry gets mad at me? What if I do this and it just doesn't even look good? What if I disappoint Haley? What if all of that? And it wasn't even just what I was believing, but I noticed as I was writing down what I was believing, some of them were coming out as what I was afraid of. I'm afraid I'm going to do it wrong. I'm afraid I'm not going to buy the right things. I'm afraid I don't know how to make a pepperoni flour. I'm afraid I don't know what kind of crackers. I'm afraid if I buy the brie, Harry's just going to be the only one who eats it. I'm afraid if I buy this, everybody's going to look at me and think I'm whatever. But I started noticing all of these beliefs and like the subtlety of fear. And that's when I realized something. I wasn't even struggling with a grazing table. I was really struggling with being a beginner at this. I've never had a baby girl graduate. I've never had a reason to, have a whole grazing table across my entire kitchen island. I mean, I just do Bible studies at my house and everybody brings something and everybody's content with that. Like, I'm the girl who does, pepperoni. The point is this. This was bigger than cheese and crackers. Because what I could see is I was really afraid of, I was struggling with uncertainty. I was, in a way, battling with not knowing the outcome. I was really, feeling defeated and overwhelmed, struggling with, doing something I'd never done before. And the more I just sat with it, the more the Lord showed me. He showed me something that I think is applying to you on your weight loss journey. And that is the subtlety and the sneakiness of fear. Because what I want you to see is I didn't wake up this morning saying, oh, I'm afraid of a charcuterie board. No. It was so subtle that I had to sit with the Lord to even allow the light to flood onto the scene so I could see the darkness where fear was hiding. Because when you're afraid of something, you don't see it as fear always. You just kind of subconsciously acknowledge that you're afraid of something. And it's not like I'm afraid of a lion. It's I'm afraid of what everybody's going to think, right? It doesn't walk in the room and announce itself you're afraid, you're fearful. No. It's disguised. And here's what I could see that as I look at my journal page and I think about everything I wrote, sometimes fear disguises as unbelief. I didn't believe I could create a grazing table because I was afraid that I couldn't. Does that make sense? Can you see that with this stupid charcuterie board grazing table situation? Fear was keeping me still. I was still thinking things like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think this is going to work. I don't think this is in the budget. And I also I was afraid of all the hard work. What if I do all this hard work and it's ugly? So I had this fear of all the hard work. And I teach my clients that all the time, right? They know the acronym for that. They know how to overcome that, how to recognize it, because I show them the belief framework. And here I was walking through my own framework. I noticed I was thinking things like, I don't think it's going to be worth it. I don't think I'll, be able to figure it out. And then I started looking at all of them and I could see the fear. I'm afraid I'll fail. I'm afraid it's not going to work. I'm afraid it won't be worth it. I'm afraid I'll, all of these things. But it's the same thing for you on your weight loss journey. What if the thing that's blocking your path of crossing the bridge, the process to get from where you are to where you want to be to the outcome, is just what you're thinking? Because wherever you're stuck, it's just a thought. It's just a thought. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can stick with it. I don't think, it'll be worth it. I'm afraid I'm going to fail. I'm afraid it won't work. What if I join the Seeker's Method or hire Sherrie and work with her? I'm afraid I won't show up to the meetings. I'm afraid I'll ghost her. I'm afraid I'll quit again. I'm afraid I'll get my hopes up again. I'm afraid I'm going to be disappointed again. Like, do you see that? For me, fear was not influencing what I was believing on the surface. It wasn't until I realized it's influencing what I believe below the surface, but I had to actually see what's the big burly monster on the bridge that I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of doing a charcuterie board. I'm afraid of doing a grazing table only because I've never done it. Is that a good reason? And here's the thing. I could see that fear was influencing what I was believing because of what I was thinking. And what I believed was influencing what I was willing to do. Can you see that pattern with this grazing table analogy? And what I was willing to do was influencing my behavior because I was resisting it. I was willing to scrub a toilet of a teenage boy's bathroom. Like, I could suddenly see exactly why I was stuck. And it's not that I don't believe I can do a grazing table. I mean, I've got TikTok. It's foolproof. All I got to do is watch enough videos, take enough screenshots, write down all the meats and the cheeses and the grapes and the strawberries and all the things. It's not that I can't do it. It's that I was believing fear. And fear was standing on the bridge between me and the outcome that I wanted. And I think that's exactly where you could be right now, where so many women are right now on their weight loss journey. Like, they are standing on one side of the bridge, looking at the life that they want. That's on the other side of the bridge, right? Like, on the other side of the bridge is the outcome that you want, the transformation that you want. It's the healthier body. It's the smaller clothes. It's the energy. It's the confidence. It's the freedom. It's the peace. It's the ability to walk into any event, maybe Sherrie Kapala's graduation party for her daughter, without thinking about your weight or fearing the food you're going to eat. It's your ability to know, oh my goodness, there's a sale on a cruise or a flight to Napa Valley or Tampa Bay that we could take next week. And you have all the confidence in the world about going on this romantic impromptu trip with your husband because you're not obsessing about the food or what you're going to wear or how much you can't go on it because it's next week and you can't lose 100 pounds in a week. I mean, that's what's on the other side. That's the outcome you're after, is the ability to live that freely. Like, where you have, like, where you're no longer mastered by your cravings. Like, you're probably on one side right now thinking, how do I get there? How do I get there? Girl, let me tell you, it's everything I teach you in the Seeker's Method. Like, you can see it. You can see everything on the other side of the bridge. Everything I just said to you. And I want you to know that that's available to you on the other side. I like to refer to it as like Freedom Island. You're on Struggle Island. You need to cross the bridge to Freedom Island. I live there right now. Soon I'm going to live there for charcuterie boards, but I live there right now. I need you to know it's available to you. I lost my weight despite hormones, despite circumstances, despite my husband losing his job, us being denied unemployment, us having 2 homes, us sinking all of our money into the remodeling of this home while all of a sudden losing Harry's mother, and then putting all of our active liquid cash into his mother's house so that we could sell it. And then COVID happening, and then him being fired, and then us being denied unemployment, and then us having to pay for a family of 5 to have health care during a pandemic out of pocket. And then us not even having any cash left because we had just poured $50,000 cash into all of these things. And then we were sinking because of how much we had to pay every month without an income, without unemployment, for insurance, for food, during the pandemic, for toilet paper. I went through the worst of circumstances. Let me tell you, when I went through the worst of that circumstances, the house I was living in was demolished. Not full rubble demolished, but our kitchen was uprooted. We didn't have a sink, we didn't have a counter, we didn't have a refrigerator, a stove. We had a refrigerator. It just happened to be in a different place every day because hardwood floors were being put in the whole bottom level of the house. Every day my kitchen table was in a different room. I never had peace and quiet. I didn't have a place to put my Bible study down because that's also where the kids ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Nobody could go anywhere. Everybody was in the house. I'm saying right here and right now that I had the worst of circumstances. The washing machine quit. The ice maker on the fridge broke. The microwave stopped working. It was just the worst of the worst. I know how hard it is to live. And yet I pressed on. I lost the weight. I am on Freedom Island, living exactly the life that you want to live, trying to tell you how to do it. But I want you to see something that is standing in your way. There's a giant on the bridge that you need to cross. That bridge is the process. Okay? It's the process. It's the mental and emotional resistance. I want you to see that giant on the bridge, it's not the food. I mean, it is the food, but it's so much. But I just want to keep going with this bridge analogy and this giant on your bridge. Because it isn't just about the food. It isn't just about the carbs. It isn't just about the sugar. The giant is a thought. And it's a thought that you have been believing for so long that it is now true. It is now your belief system. Right? It's things that you are thinking that cause you to have trepidation and cause you to have fear. It's mundane little thoughts that seem harmless, but you're thinking things. And they're shaping your identity and they're becoming your truth. You're thinking things like, nothing works for me. I can lose the weight, but I can't keep it off. As soon as I start a diet, I always sabotage it. Life gets hard. The fridge breaks down. Family members get sick. Whatever it is. I've always been overweight. I'm too old. Well, Sherrie can lose weight because she's little. Well, guess what? Sherrie wasn't little once upon a time, all right? I tell women all the time, I've lost 100 pounds. I would lose 15 pounds, gain 20. Lose 10 pounds, gain 15. Lose 15 pounds, gain 10. Lose 9 pounds, gain 11. To the point where I was stuck at the same point on the process as you might be. You might be thinking that you're too old. You might think that you have too many hormonal issues. Trust me, I'm in full-out menopause right now. I changed my body in perimenopause just by changing my food. You might think right now that you don't have enough discipline. You might have that thought that I always quit. I can't trust myself. This is just who I am. My family's big boned. And what I want you to see is that giant stands there saying, basically to you, you shall not pass. And you don't even see it. Or you might be aware of it now that you're listening to this episode. And you might see that giant looks so big. But I want you to see that giant looks so big because you allow that giant to be big. You allow that giant to stay there. And that's the very thing keeping you from your outcome, right? You want to be transformed. You just might not want the process of transformation. And I have to show you that the process of transformation is what's taking place on the bridge. But you have to kick that giant in the teeth. You're never going to know how to do that if you don't even acknowledge what are the thoughts that you are believing, the fears that you have that are keeping you in negative faith. Because I'm also seeing that fear is the very thing that's going to give way to unbelief, right? You're not going to believe you can lose this weight if you are afraid that you won't do it. And so for me this morning, this is what I did. This is what I always do. I just started praying Isaiah 40, 29 through 31. Lord, your word says that you give power to the weak, that you give strength to the powerless. Because that's honestly how I felt. I felt powerless against a stupid charcuterie board. I felt powerless because I felt out of my element. I've never had a kid graduate. I've never planned out a grazing table. I've never done any of this. And the Lord showed me. He started showing me that this is a truth for all of us. The flesh wants assurance before obedience. Think about that in your own life, even on your weight loss journey. Don't you want a guarantee that you're going to lose this weight? The flesh wants assurance before obedience. It wants a guarantee before you'll move or take the first step. It wants absolute certainty that you will get to the other side of the bridge. You want that before you're even willing to take a step. It's like you want to see evidence before you will walk by faith. And that's just not how faith works. Faith doesn't require, in my case, it doesn't require me to know how the entire grazing table is going to come together. It just requires me to start where I am, make the list. That's the first step. It's going to require me to start doing that in order to cross the bridge. And that's when I realized something else. I don't actually need to desire to want to do it right now. All I need is willingness. I don't need to want to do it. I need to be willing to do it. And that's completely different. Because so many women are waiting to feel like it. They're waiting to want to. They're waiting for the motivation, for the excitement, for the confidence, for the assurance, right? And while they're waiting, they're staying on the same bridge, the same side of the bridge, just looking for what's easier, what'll make me feel like it, what'll help me to sustain my energy or my confidence or my motivation. And you might be on that side of the bridge right now. Standing there, and you might even have been standing there now for years. Because that's where I've been for about a week until the Lord said, Sherrie, you must just be willing. And here's what I want you to see. Even if you've been standing on the stuck side of the bridge, the struggle island side of the bridge, willingness changes everything. Because willingness is the thing that says, it rises up within you. It's like God's will starts to come alive within you. And it starts to say things like, I don't feel like it, but I'll do it anyway. I don't know how I'm going to lose this weight because of the thing I've got to go to today where there's going to be all my favorite foods, but I'm going to start anyhow. I'm going to trust anyhow. I'm going to feel all the resistance and why I should justify and reason eating the creme brulee when I get there, but I'm not. And I'm going to go anyhow. I'm going to move anyhow. You can be at that point where you feel the fear, but you take the next step anyway. You take the next step anyway. And that's everything the Lord was showing me this morning. It's like I can see now that the grazing table isn't the destination. It's the process. The grazing table is the process, and the process is where he's waiting for me. The process is where he's going to teach me. The process is where he's going to strengthen me. The process is where he's going to reveal himself. The process is where my fear about a grazing table dies, right? The process is where courage starts growing. The process is where belief gets renewed. The process is where thoughts get taken captive. The process is where willingness starts to become action. The process is where transformation happens. It's the same for you on your weight loss journey. You want that outcome, but the outcome isn't where God does his greatest work. He does his greatest work on that bridge. He does his greatest work in the process, right? That's where your becoming happens. Your becoming, you becoming the woman who lost the weight, that happens in the crossing of the bridge. It happens while you're just taking the next right step. You start becoming that version of yourself. As you learn to walk by faith, you learn to trust God. All of your becoming, like becoming the next version of yourself, the woman who lost the weight, it all happens while you're doing the thing you don't feel like doing. And if you're listening to this right now, I want you to ask yourself the same question the Lord asked me this morning. What do you need to be willing to do? I want you to ask yourself all these questions. I want you to answer these questions, I should say. What are you afraid of? It might just be something you're thinking of, but you might not realize you're thinking that because you're afraid of something. So what are you afraid of? Like, the question is not like me. Obviously, I'm in this sphere of weight loss. I don't want you to answer, what are you eating? I don't want you to think about like what diet you know you need to follow. But what are you afraid of? Because I believe that if you are willing to get quiet enough, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear what I hear all the time when I'm coaching women, especially when I get to coach them one-on-one, because a lot of times, to my trained ear, I was trained as I got my certification in the power of listening. I hear women, and we go deep when I hear them say what they're afraid of. They'll say things to me, and I coach women on their weight loss journey. But here's the thing about me coaching you one-on-one for weight loss. I only coach women who have gone through the Seeker's Method. So if you've done the Seeker's Method before and you don't want to do it again, you're a candidate for one-on-one coaching with me. I only coach women who are either actively doing it or who have done it in the past. But here's what I hear that most women are afraid of. And this is the very thing that's keeping them stuck in their fat pants. I'm afraid I'm going to fail. I'm afraid that it won't work. I'm afraid I'll quit again. I'm afraid I can't trust myself. I'm afraid I'm just going to be disappointed again. I'm afraid I'm just going to waste money. I'm afraid I'm going to have to give up things that I love. I'm afraid it's too busy of a season and I don't have time. I'm afraid it won't be worth it. I'm afraid I'll never change. I'm afraid I could just keep going. So I want you to answer those questions. And here's the thing, if that's not what you're hearing, that you're afraid of something, I want you to ask this question. What am I believing because of fear? Because maybe that little nuance, that little, shift in how I'm asking it could be the very thing that unlocks the door, right? That helps you to see what is that wrong thought that has taken root as a weed in your garden, right? Because that could be where your breakthrough is right now. That could actually be where the giant is and who the giant is. That's where the resistance is hiding. That's exactly why the Lord had me create the Seeker's Method, because I don't believe women need a different diet or another one to put on their bookshelf. I don't believe they need a diet nearly as much as they need mind renewal. And that's exactly what you need. But you can't know where you need to renew your mind until you recognize your patterns of thought that are shaping your belief system, that are informing your behavior, that are limiting your transformation. Because at the core of all of this, it isn't about the food, it's what you're believing. And that's why so many of my clients are successful on their weight loss journey, because they're learning to recognize what is the giant on the bridge. How to identify the fear that is influencing their beliefs. How to notice what voices are influencing their thoughts. How to self-coach. How to take a thought and make it captive. How to apply God's word. How to become stronger crossing the bridge even when temptation is perpetually being thrown at you. You have to start knowing how to renew your mind. How to identify the fear that is influencing your belief system. How to renew your mind so that real, profound, and lasting transformation can happen, because you finally become the woman who interrupted the wrong patterns, and you start behaving differently. You start doing the things that get you to the point where you start to have the outcome that you say that you want. And when you work with me, even especially when we're one-on-one, I guess I'm going to talk about one-on-one, we don't just talk about food. In fact, very rarely. If you've been in the Seeker's Method, you don't come to me and we don't talk about food. It might be a part of our first discussion. Usually it's something I have you fill out on a discovery form. Because when you're in the Seeker's Method, you get the food thing figured out. But when you work with me for more intimate, for greater proximity, coaching with me, that's where I help you to do the real work of renewing your mind. So we don't talk about the food. We uncover the thoughts that keep sabotaging the process, that are keeping you from crossing the bridge. We are identifying the fears that keep you standing still. So like you're only a quarter way up on the on-ramp of the bridge and you can't even cross it, and it's defeating you and it's keeping you stuck. And when we work together, we start exposing the beliefs that are weakening your willingness. I don't think you need more information on how to lose this weight. What you need is clarity. You need someone to help you see what it is that you can't see, because you have some spiritual blind spots. You need somebody to help you identify the giant that's been standing in front of you, blocking you, and that you don't even realize you've allowed it to have a voice. And that voice that's coming from that giant is the voice of fear. And you've been listening to it, and it's been influencing your thoughts. It's been establishing the roots of your belief system. And so I want you to know, if you've worked in the Seeker's Method with me before, you're welcome to come back. If you've done it before, joining while we're in the middle is not going to be a problem. Or if you've done the work in the Seeker's Method and you want to work one-on-one with me, get a hold of me. You know how. Because the life that you're praying for is probably, how do I want to say this? The life that you're praying for is very likely not on the side of the bridge that you're standing on right now. Does that make sense? It's on the other side. And that the life that you want is on the other side of your willingness. It's on the other side of the process. It is on the other side of taking the next step with God. And if that's you, get in the Seeker's Method. Get a hold of me about one-on-one coaching. Because sometimes the thing that's keeping you stuck isn't food at all. Sometimes it's just a thought that has been bullying you around, and you've been believing it for so long that you have mistaken it for absolute truth. I mean, this morning the Lord used a grazing table to remind me of that. I mean, I still don't feel like doing it. But now I'm not even seeing it as something I'm resisting anymore. Now I'm kind of seeing it as like this big adventure I'm going on with God that I didn't even know a grazing table could create. You know what I mean? I can see what's happening. I can see the bridge. I can see the giant. I can see the fear. And because I can see it, I can challenge it. And because I can challenge it, I can move. And it's not because I want to, but it's because I'm willing. This applies to you on your weight loss journey. What must you be willing to acknowledge? What have you been thinking? What have you been afraid of? What if that is the very thing that the Lord is using to make you stronger? If you would just come to Him so that He can show you a way out, so that you can endure and be made stronger in the process of crossing the bridge to becoming the version of yourself who lost the weight. I'm prayerful that this blessed you. If it did, let me know. Go to my website, sherriekapala.com. Send me a direct message anywhere on social media. Make a comment on this podcast, wherever you're listening, however you're listening. God is no respecter of persons. If He can do it for me, He can do it for you, even in weight loss.